Welcome to How to Rock the Stage Show, a show committed to equipping you to hone your media skills better to stand out from the crowd as a go-to expert in your field. Each week, Rich Bontrager interviews top leaders, influencers, authors, speakers, podcasters, and media professionals about how to leverage media best to help you shine brighter on camera and stage as a go-to expert. Now, here's your host, the Trigger, Rich Bontrager.
Thank you, Dan, and welcome to Rock the Stage Show Wednesday night. And can you believe it? It's the 1st of November. We're kicking off nearly the end of the year, and we're also kicking off a new way of catching Rock the Stage Show. It's always going to be right here on our website, rockthestagemedia.com. Come on in and join us Wednesday night on the Rock the Stage Show platform within the website. We'll have more details on that as we continue to move that direction, but we want you to make sure you find us every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time for How to Rock the Stage Show. You know, we all struggle with confidence. No matter what you do in life, from the youngest of age to the oldest of old, we all want to be confident, cool, and collected. Tonight, we're going to get into that discussion. We're going to talk about how to get that confidence no matter where you're at, no matter what you do. And for those of us in the media, on the stage as public speakers, we know confidence is essential to really connecting with the audience. So stick around for a really great show tonight with a great international award-winning guest. But first, we do want to thank our wonderful sponsor of DW Studios. DW Studios is powering the Rock the Stage Show. They have a team that helps you with the state-of-the-art technology, the remote recording process that will help you bring your own story, your own podcast, your own show to life and get it out to the market very quickly. They help you produce your audiobook, your podcast series, and distribute it throughout the marketplace. And for more information, to learn more about the team at DW Studios, go to audavita.com. That's audavita.com. And again, they're going to take this show. They will be turning this into a podcast and re-airing that on Apple and many other platforms. But tonight it is about being confident and being confident anywhere, anytime, with anyone. And we have a confidence expert with us tonight. DW Starr is an award-winning international performer, author, speaker, and self-confidence expert. DW delights audiences with his natural enthusiasm, his transformational self-confidence STAR method, which we're going to get into here tonight. He helps you to rewrite and direct the inner movie running within your minds. Welcome to the stage tonight, DW Starr. Let's do that. There you are, DW.
It's an honor and a pleasure.
Thanks for being with us tonight. And I love that you have acronyms and exciting things to share us tonight. But before we get into that, I'm sure people want to know, how did you get into the performance business? What kind of inspired you to get into this?
Well, I've been performing since I was 9 years old. So picture a 9-year-old in his backyard with his best friend, and he's got a test tube that has a little yellow in it and a test tube that has a little red liquid in it. And he takes one test tube and he pours it into the other one, and it goes like that. Well, my friend said, "That's really neato kino," because that's what they said back then. And I said, yeah, watch this. And then I took a beaker, 2 different beakers with different colors, and did that because I was really into magic and chemistry as a child.
Yeah. So was I, actually. I actually worked with the other guy. We did magic as kids. I always blew the tricks. Did you ever blow a trick?
Yeah, just like I blow punchlines sometimes in jokes. So wait, I got to tell you the rest of the story.
Yeah,
so
please do it.
Here's what happened. So I did that. He goes, "That's really neato kino again." And then that night I went home and I started thinking, and I invited everybody into the neighborhood, from the neighborhood, the next week. And I did a little magic show with a TV dinner tray in my backyard, and I charged all the kids 10 cents. That was the beginning of my entrepreneurial career, my magic career, and my presentation career. And I've been doing something like that ever since.
Well, and it's interesting. You've covered the gambit, and I know we're going to get into it, but you love working with children audiences, just like you did back then. You still love children's audiences, don't you?
Yeah, teens. In fact, I just recently worked with the Girl Scouts, and did a special video for them about my book and how they could use it, because they gave a book to every one of the Girl Scouts in their swag bag at their leadership conference. So yeah, I love working with teens, and the reason that I'm working with teens now is because of COVID.
Okay, I'm assuming because COVID, lockdown, self-isolation, they lost confidence. They lost themselves in a little bit. Is that true?
Exactly. You can see it in the statistics in the news everywhere. And we don't have to go into all those details, but with the lack of self confidence, the suicide rate, the social media situation got to the point where, because they couldn't be with each other, they were all communicating with social media, came out of that, and then are still having trouble communicating with each other. Even going back to school, the first few weeks,
Yes.
they felt like they were in a foreign land.
Well, here in Washington, D.C., that's become a big thing. They aren't going back to school. They aren't comfortable anymore back in the classroom. And lawmakers, teachers are trying to grapple with this new way of they needed us. They got used to not having us. Now they don't want to come back. And the confidence is the number one thing they're talking about here in Washington, D.C. is they've lost the confidence to just come back to be with their peers and come back to the classroom. So I'm just curious, what are some of the tips you give them for them? Because I'm sure they apply to us as well.
Well, what I do is, I might as well just put this out here right up front. So I've had 3 traumatic brain injuries in my life. One at 2, one at 6, and one at 40. And I'm not going to go into all the details, but they were all involved with vehicles. Okay. So because of that, I've created what I call memory hacks. And yeah, here's a simple one. Here's a simple one everybody can use. Do you ever forget your glasses, your phone, your briefcase, your keys? So I created a memory hack called Please Bring a Kazoo Guide. Now, if you know what a kazoo is, you know that noisemaker thing, right?
Yes.
So I used to use that in my programs a few years ago. And so I created that mnemonic. Please bring a kazoo guide. Phone, briefcase, attitude, keys, glasses. The reason we forget those things, I figured that out, and I wasn't planning to figure it out, but I figured it out. What happens is that we are so focused on where we're going that we're not paying attention to where we are.
I love that because how many people have said, "Where are my glasses?" They're running out the door. They got the kids, and they say, "Where are my glasses?" And they get in a panic, and they're right on their head. So it's absolutely right. They're focused on where they're going, not being present. So is that part of the confidence? Is staying more present?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because people talk about mindfulness all the time, and that's what that is. That's being in the moment. And the other key element to me about confidence is authenticity. So we're not talking about the kind of confidence that you might see with politicians or entertainers who are way over the top. I'm not talking about that kind of confidence, because that's insecurity. I'm talking about, I paused on purpose.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Because as a professional speaker, you also need to know when to pause to let your audience think.
Yes.
And that shows confidence too, because you're not trying to say everything and everything and everything, because that's insecurity too. You're covering up your insecurity by blah, 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 blah. No, a person who is confident with whatever timing they work with is natural. That's a sign of confidence. And you see that with people that you work with or in your lives. People who are confident aren't trying to prove anything.
So where's that line? Help our audience tonight between the overconfidence that you were talking about, that big, bold kind of puffed up. Where's the line between just barely existing in a shadow to that overconfidence? But how do you find that sweet spot that you're talking about? How do you find my confidence? Because everyone's confidence is different.
So it's about authenticity. It's about being who you really are. Now, the fine line is, can we read this?
I can't, but you can. Read it to me.
Oh, it's backwards, right? Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. So what that means is that I'm not talking about a truly confident person stretches, but they don't stretch so far that they aren't themselves, and that's that fine line. In my mind, that's how I look at it.
So there's a lot of people that would totally agree with that, but maybe their first question is more along the line of, what, who am I?
Exactly.
So can you be confident naturally without knowing who you are first?
So let's talk about my STAR method. And I
Yeah,
think
please.
this might help. Okay. I'm going to get you involved.
Okay, bring it on.
Okay. So my STAR method, well, it's my last name because that way I can remember it. Okay. So the STAR method is about creating your inner movie. So let's start with what's one of your favorite movies?
Lord of the Rings.
Awesome. Awesome. Lord of the Rings. Perfect. Who's the star?
Well, Frodo Baggins is the star. I think it's
Okay.
Aragorn Strider, but we'll go with Frodo.
Well, it's up to you because this is your decision,
Well,
not mine.
well,
This
then Strider, Aragorn's, to me, he's the hero.
okay. So this formula that I'm about to tell you works for any successful movie on the planet. So I can do this with 80-year-olds or 7-year-olds. It works. Whether it's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, or Ben-Hur, movies that some people have maybe even heard of, or whether it's Frozen or Encanto. It doesn't matter. It works. Okay. So S is for the star. T is for the task. What's the task your star wants to achieve?
Get the ring destroyed.
Okay. Who is their reach coach? Now it's really the mentor, but in order for this formula to work, I had to create a word that had an R in front of it. So reach coach, who helps them dig down deep inside, find the confidence to be the hero.
Oh, that's Gandalf, the great wizard.
Exactly. Okay. I actually skipped the A.
But
So it's S.T.A.R.R. and I skipped the A and it's my own formula. That is hilarious. Anyway, the A stands for arch villain. Who's the arch villain?
that's going to be Sauron.
Right. And I couldn't say villain. I had to say arch villain because they needed an A. Okay.
I love it.
So then the final R stands for reason. What's the reason that your star needs to achieve that goal?
Save Middle Earth.
Okay. So you see that in superhero kind of things all the time. You see it in even romantic comedies. Okay. All right. So that's the STAR formula. Now we're going to do it with you. So if you want to make believe on this part, you can. You can make believe you're a 15-year-old. That would work good for you.
That's really easy for me.
Okay, good. Me too. Me too. I can go down to about 7. But anyway, so that's so the S stands for star. Well, you're the star in the movie. Okay, this is your movie. This is your inner movie. Okay, so now what's your task? What do you want to have more confidence in? Let me give you examples. Do you want to do better in algebra? Do you want to make the hockey team? Give me an example of what you want.
Basketball. I want to be a better basketball player.
Awesome. So that is your task. Who's your arch villain?
The basketball hoop, actually, because I can't reach it.
That's a good one. Okay. Now let's try one a little bit more real. Who's your arch villain?
Who's my arch? Probably the other team.
Perfect. The competitor.
Yeah.
The enemy. Okay, so that's STA. Now, who's your reach coach?
That would be my basketball coach.
Okay, perfect. And what's the reason that you want to be a better basketball player?
So I can contribute better to the overall team and win.
Okay, so we've just helped you assess what you want to accomplish and why you want to accomplish it, and how and what you want to do to gain more confidence. So that's clear, and that's a crystal part of my formula for how to be more confident, which is using the memory hack answer, which stands for allow, need, systems, wins, energized, and rehearse. In the acronym answer, the E energized is what gets you energized, what gets you motivated, passionate. And you just decided through your STAR formula that the R in reason is what gets you energized, wanting to be a better basketball player. So I connect lots of memory hacks together, but I do them separately when I'm doing it in a presentation. But here I'm trying to squeeze a lot in all at once.
Well,
So
and yeah.
then once you have the formula, then you need a strategy.
Yes.
I don't know if you want me to take the time to tell you how the strategy works, or you want to ask me different questions.
Well, no. Please explain the strategy, because one without the other leaves everyone hanging, and we don't want to do that.
Oh, I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want them to have to find out more later. Okay, I'll do it real quick on strategy. Strategy is self-assess. S for STAR. Again, it's the STAR formula, so I can remember it. Self-assess. That's what we just did. We helped you self-assess why you want more confidence, what kind of confidence you want, and so on. Okay? T stands for take a risk. After my third head injury, and I decided I had this feeling that I needed to share some of my wisdom with the world, I decided I was going to be a professional speaker. And I had two risks I needed to take. One, professional speakers don't use notes.
No, they don't.
And no. And two, and I haven't said this yet, but I was raised by some very, very dysfunctional parents. I love them, but they were very dysfunctional. My mother had a stroke at the age of 15. My father lost one of his eyes before I was born. And they were very, they started yelling a lot. By the time I was 14, they were yelling a lot and being very mean to me. It was almost like they were one way at home and a different way in the public. And so I heard all the time, who do you think you are? You're nobody special. Life's no good. So that was the second. So S is for self-assess. T is for take a risk. That was the second risk I needed to take, to be somebody, even though I was told I wasn't. Does that make sense?
No, makes total sense. And many of us struggle with the very same things you are describing. This is perfect, because we all have that risk. We all have something that we've struggled with, or dysfunctional families, or dysfunctional kind of marriages. This is very common for a lot of people. This is great. Please go on.
Okay, so then the A stands for act as if. And some people know this, but there's a lot of people that I have found out that don't know this. That if you act as if you are happy, your brain doesn't know the difference. And again, because of all my head injuries, I've studied the brain quite a lot. But I don't like to use technical terms, because that just makes me look like I'm confident instead of being confident.
Yes.
And that's part of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know, you talk to somebody who's using terms that are very sophisticated where they don't need to, they're compensating for their insecurity. I mean, I'm just being real here, okay?
No, that's very true. And I'm really glad you brought that in, because there's that false bravado, that false image versus being the authentic them and being confident in just being them.
Exactly. So the act as if Beyonce had Sasha Fierce as her imaginary reach coach. Kobe Bryant had I think it was Black Mamba, the snake from Kill Bill, as his imaginary reach coach. Eminem, the Beatles, Nicki Minaj, they all have used that to build their own confidence by acting as if they were that until they had enough confidence to be that. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
DW Starr is my professional name, not my legal name.
Mm-hmm.
But my wife even calls me DW, and I wear this around the house.
Well, that's, I actually overcame a lifelong stutter. So we talked about those risks, those overcoming. That was one of my true life, real things to overcome. And it was confidence. It was me being told, you're never going to be a public speaker. You're never going to be a broadcaster. I was told you can't because of what this does. It did take me taking on the belief of someone else. It did take me dressing the part, becoming a broadcaster, dressing the part. And it did take me finally believing, and you're right, the brain did catch up, and then the body caught up, and now I've been doing it for 30 plus years.
Yeah.
So everything you're saying is absolutely true, that there is that sense of becoming it before you become it.
Yeah, well, the mind doesn't know the difference between fantasy and reality.
Yeah.
So that's the concept of manifesting that people talk about a lot. And more and more science is proving that to be true instead of what you might call woo-woo, which some people think of it as. But you take Michael Jordan, or you take Coco Gauff, or you take Lady Gaga, or you take her. You take any of these super successful entertainers, and I call athletes entertainers because that's what's happened at this point.
Yes.
Any of them, they all run this inner movie in their mind way before they get on stage or way before they get on the court. More than they do, they practice. I've got that in my notes somewhere here, that they actually practice more mentally than they do physically. And what happens is, if you do that with confidence, by the time you get there physically, your brain is already saying, I'm more confident, I'm more confident, I'm more confident.
That's exactly, again, and I did not have the coaching. If I would have had you as a young kid, I would have peaked a lot earlier. But I did exactly what you're describing without knowing that I was doing it. I did perform to my G.I. Joes and my superheroes, and I would stand and present. I did pretend to be a sports broadcaster and turn down the TV and do my own play-by-play.
I did it with my dog.
You did?
When I was a kid, yeah.
And so you take on those roles and the parts, and that part about being a movie in your mind. I love that concept because I did see it. And there's something about the tactile sense, seeing, tasting, touching. When you start getting into that mode as a performer and helping your confidence grow, you do see yourself in that chair. You see yourself on that stage. So when you do step on it, it's like you've already been there and you don't skip a beat, right?
Yeah, and the more senses that you can connect to that inner movie, like not everybody, but many people know that if you want to sell a house, you bake cookies before the people come in, because that scent, that smell, brings them back to an emotional place, usually in their childhood when they were happy. I did that one week, and I put the house on the market on a Saturday, and Sunday I sold it, and it was all because of the cookies. So I got to tell that to the Girl Scouts.
Mine would be popcorn. If I had good buttered popcorn the night before, that would have worked in my house.
Okay, awesome. I love the smell of popcorn. Absolutely. So again, And the inner movie, what I talk about is rewriting the script that runs the inner movie in your mind. And I talk to adults and teens about that. And script also has a memory hack. But I'm not going to go into that one now. We don't have time.
No, we're going to make them go to your website later on and get all the goodies right there.
Exactly. But there is one thing I want to share that I think is really important that I have in my notes here.
Yeah.
For specifically for people who are professional speakers.
Please.
And that's what I call my PIF questions. PIF stands for proud, inspires, and forward. When you are talking with the person who potentially is going to hire you, you want to build a great rapport with them. You don't want to talk about yourself. You want to talk about them first. So the PIF questions are, what are you most proud of in your life?
Mm-hmm.
Who or what inspires you?
Yeah.
And what are you looking forward to? Now, I actually do that when I'm in conversations with lots of people at a party or whatever, instead of just talking about what do you do and how many kids you have. Because you get to learn something about that person much faster. You also learn if they're open enough to share. So once they tell you that if they're not open enough to share, then you don't pry. But if they are open enough to share, then you get this amazing energy going. And that's what you want with the people who you want to hire you.
Now, let me just jump in because that thought of sort of getting permission to go deeper, granting that the discussion will unfold, I think a lot of people skip it. I think it's really important that you maybe add more meat to that, because you do have to know if you're allowed to go deeper and deeper. Otherwise, you're wasting your breath, your time, and you're probably ticking people off in the process too, right?
Well, yeah. So here's what happens. I mean, I figured this out a while ago, that everybody has their own agenda.
Yes.
And you're not their agenda. They're their agenda. So we all know about the rule about, you should always say their name. Like Rich, I should have been doing this. Rich, you say their name in conversation. Also helps you remember their name, which is good for people who have memory issues. But also, it's about learning how to recognize the walls that they have. And the walls are there not because they don't like you, not because they're mean, not because they're depressed. Some of those walls look like that to people, but that's not what they are. They're self-protection, because there's been some kind of an injury of some kind to them mentally in some way or another, and so they're trying to stay safe. So that's another thing where you, in that situation, you start being very transparent with them. They feel safe. So I have found, ever since I was a little boy, that people tell me things that they tell nobody else. And at first, as a kid, I didn't really understand that. But as an adult, I can now look back. Oh, that's the other thing I want to share with you, is about memory and confidence. Those of us who feel like we don't have the confidence we want, it's usually based when we were a young child and something happened that made us feel like we didn't have confidence. And then we grew up with that, and we still feel that way, instead of looking back at it as an adult and re-examining that memory and realizing that memory was based on 6-year-old thinking.
Yes. And again, just to use an example, my grandmother was the only one that really believed that my stutter would not prohibit me. And she actually, because I couldn't read in public because I got too nervous, I knew I was going to stutter. So it was self-destructive natures in school. I would run out of the classroom crying. She literally let me read comic books out loud. So I took on a personality. I would do the voices of Scooby-Doo, of Batman, and I would read out loud at home in her house. And she
All right,
would
wait a minute. All right, I want to hear Scooby.
Well, I can do Shaggy better than Scooby.
All right, do Shaggy. Let's hear Shaggy.
Scoob. I want a Scooby snack. Okay, Rover. But that's what I was doing as a kid, and she would cheer me on. And bit by bit, the narrative began to change. And when I finally got on stage as an actor, becoming that voice, becoming that persona was something she taught me as a little kid. I stepped on stage and I did not stutter at all. So you're absolutely right. Sometimes you have to look back because it's imprinted on you. It's been planted on you. And a lot of times it's a bunch of BS, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It is. It's the agenda of the adult.
Yes.
And that adult agenda is potentially based when they were a kid. So you can see this spiral in families. We all know that. Okay.
DW Starr, this has been great to have you on with us. Again, we do want to drive people to your website because you do have a gift for us, and it's going to help them go through some of what we've talked about here today, right? So tell us about your website and tell us about this QR code and the free gift you have for them.
So it's my mini book. It's, let me see, what's the title? Be self-confident anywhere, anytime, with anyone, changing inner voices with better choices. As my throat starts to go. Oh my goodness.
So go hit the QR link. You want to hit the QR code, and then you will be able to get the free download, get more information, learn all these amazing things that DW has been talking about here today. And of course,
and let me share just one thing real quick, Rich. Yeah. So what it is, it's 30 pages. Every page is a different word that you can use to help you trigger how to be more confident, and then you journal on the other side.
Perfect. DW Starr, thanks for being with us here today on Rock the Stage. And again, go check out his website. Go see more where he's appearing, what he's got coming up. And again, let me just remind you, DW is a world-class international speaker, leader, influencer. And he empowers teens and adults to build their confidence using their favorite movies. I speak, perform, write, self-leadership, belief systems, confidence superpowers to build your own superhero that you could be yourself. Learn more about DW at his website. And again, for Rock the Stage Media, we want to say, hey, welcome aboard, everybody. And come back here Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, back to the How to Rock the Stage or Rock the Stage Media website. From the Rock the Stage Media website, go to Rock the Stage tab on the website. Every week will be right here. Past shows, current upcoming shows, and as always, we do want to thank our sponsor, Audavita Studios, for making this all possible. Audavita can help you produce and send out your own podcast, streaming TV shows, and more. Contact audavita.com. Hey, that's going to do it for tonight's episode of Rock the Stage. We will be back once again. Special thanks to DW Starr for being on the show tonight and giving us all those insider tips on how to be more confident. We'll see you next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Time for Rock the Stage Show.